I haven't talked to him yet. Go ahead.
You ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate y'all being here today. Madam Clerk, I'll call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, we have our invocation by Reverend Richard A. Smith, pastor of the First Metropolitan Baptist Church, after which we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor, for this opportunity, to the Commission, to all of the leaders, and to each and every one of you. It's a pleasure to be here. And this time, let us bow our heads. Gracious, everlasting God, our Father, we come now thanking you for this day, thanking you for the blessing of life and strength and health as well as we have it, for enabling us, Lord, to be able to gather together, Lord, and to take care of the business of the city. Lord, we ask now your continual blessing upon each and every person that's here. Lord, we ask that, Lord, you will guide each person on this day. Allow your will to be done in this place, Lord, and allow them to remember, Lord, that as we all serve in various capacities, we all serve unto you. That, Lord, we serve because you enable us to serve. And, Lord, I ask, Lord, that you will allow each and every person to remember that, Lord, and to remember, Lord, that we are servants, Lord, that they're servants to the constituents, and that the constituents belong to you. Lord, and all that is done here, Lord, let it be done pleasing in your sight, in decency and in order. Lord, we ask that, Lord, wherever there is a moment of contention, wherever there's a sticking point, Lord, we ask that, Lord, you will just bring to their remembrance that a house divided cannot stand, and allow them to come together, Lord, and to lovingly and peacefully look and search for resolutions to help lead this city forward, and, Lord, to help guide these citizens, Lord, to whom they serve. Lord, we ask that you will continue to watch over this city, cover and keep our mayor in your care, keep each commissioner in your care. And Lord, bless each leader, bless each person that's here. Dispatch your angels all around them and keep them in your care. Strengthen them as they go forth doing your will. And Lord, we ask that you continue to strengthen this community, that you will grow this community, that you will lead this community into the next decade. And Lord, we ask all of these things in the holy and righteous name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's name we do pray. And Lord, we just give you thanks and praise and glory and honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Let those who believe say amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Pastor Smith, would you please stand? And first, let me thank you for that very encouraging and passionate prayer of guidance and direction for us all. Thank you for lifting us up before the Lord. By these presents be it known that Reverend Richard A. Smith, pastor of the First Metropolitan Baptist Church, is our chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example for all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand this 4th day of June, 2024, Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. Thank you.
Reverend Smith, thank you for your presence here today, and thank you for that prayer. It's much needed, sir. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk, before we continue, the chair yields for the commissioner from the 4th as he has asked for a point of privilege. Commissioner Alvin Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Mr. Mayor, I thought it best at this particular time to make this statement so that there would be no confusion and there would be the truth as it stands and no rumors. So what I will tell you is, Mr. Mayor, effective immediately after this commission meeting, I will be stepping down from my commission seat, effective immediately, on a temporary basis to deal with a medical situation that I've been dealing with for quite some time. In the interim, I've had some cursory conversations with our super district commissioner, only we didn't have any specific dates. But we now have specific dates. And to my community and to Augusta Richmond County at large, you're in good hands. You're in good hands with Commissioner Francine Scott until or unless I return to this commission. She will be the one that will be there for District 4 to watch over District 4. I have presented her to several of my commission homeowners associations and or introduced her to those already. So they are quite aware of that. On June 20th, 2 Thursdays from this Thursday, I will be having multi-tiered, multi-level back surgery on my lower back. I will be having that surgery at Fort Eisenhower under the direction of Dr. Keith Jackson, who was a noted orthopedic surgeon. He will head the surgical team, which will include Dr. Shaver from the VA Medical Center, who is a noted neurosurgeon. And we will also have a vascular surgeon as part of the team. So we'll have 3 of the most prominent and necessary surgeons to deal with the situation that I have going on that I need to take care of. And so again, I would ask that you respect the privacy for myself and my family during this period of time. I am unaware at this time how long that will be. I understand there may be some provisions that I may be able to participate from a standpoint of telephonically, but that would only be when and if I'm able to do so, when I'm physically able to do so and the medications are not affecting my decision-making process. I need for you to understand that my health comes first. The most important thing that concerns me at this time, the reason why I'm taking the time now, 2 weeks ahead of time, to get my affairs in order and to ensure that my mother is properly taken care of. And that's more important to me than anything, my own health. And so that's why after today's meeting, I will relinquish my spot temporarily while I go through this process. At a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks, at a maximum of 6 months. I do not see 6 months being away from the commission in terms of physically or in terms of being able to participate, but it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and if it's longer than that, then I'll do whatever is necessary at that particular time to make sure that the community and this commission is taken care of and represented appropriately. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make sure that we did this all at the same time. Nobody knows it before anybody else. There's no rumors and no innuendo about what's going on with Commissioner Mason. You've heard it for yourself. To my constituents that are out there and to Augusta Richmond County as a whole, I've certainly enjoyed the opportunity of representing you. I fully plan to continue to do so if it is God's will. And do not mourn or cry for me, because I'm in God's hands, and those are the best hands that you can possibly be in. So I fully expect to be back and better than ever. But if not, I've certainly enjoyed my time here, Mr. Mayor. And we'll see what happens futuristically as we learn the protocol in terms of if I'm able to participate from a telephonic standpoint. Once we get all of that confirmation, then we'll know where we're moving forward. But first and foremost, it's about taking care of self first. So I thank you for that opportunity and that personal privilege, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner from the 4th. We certainly understand and your respect for your desire to get healthy. There's nothing more important than your health. So thank you for notifying this body as well as the public. Madam Clerk, I think it's noted as being in the record. Am I correct? Thank you so much. All right, Madam Clerk, let's continue with the delegation portion of our agenda.
Call your attention to our delegation item A, Mr. Eric Montgomery, requesting a historical marker be placed on Green Street side of the municipal building in honor of the Revolutionary War hero General Lafayette's visit to Augusta during his farewell tour of the United States on March 23, 1825.
Thank you so much, Mr. Montgomery. If you will, for the record, please state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
I am Eric Montgomery. My home address is 606 Oberlin Road, Augusta 30909.
Mr. Montgomery, can you kind of, yeah.
Does it need to come close?
Yeah, you do. Okay.
Does this work better? Okay.
Got it.
Mayor and members of the commission, thank you for allowing me to address you today regarding the placement of a new historical marker on the municipal building grounds to recognize the visit of General Lafayette in 1825. Born a French aristocrat, the Marquis de Lafayette was an unlikely patriot of the American Revolution. In 1775, at the age of 19, he joined the Freemasons and began to advocate for the rights of man, including the abolition of slavery. Inspired by the American Revolution, he volunteered to join the American Continental Army in spite of the disapproval of King Louis XVI of France. In 1776, he was commissioned a major general in the American Army and recruited 12 officers to go with him to fight the British. They escaped to Spain, defying the French king, and were endorsed by Benjamin Franklin and other prominent American patriots to join their cause. During the war between 1775 and 1778, he was in 4 significant battles. He was an important ally of General George Washington. He was with Washington during the severe winter encampment at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. He returned to France and was arrested for supporting the American revolutionary efforts, but was eventually released, working with Benjamin Franklin to gain increased French support of the American war with Great Britain, which was pivotal to the success of the United States. In 1780, he returned to America with French reinforcements. The remainder of his service was primarily commanding forces in Virginia, including the final significant battle at Yorktown in 1781. At Yorktown, his troops joined those of George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and French forces to defeat Lord Cornwallis, ending the war for independence. Returning home to France in 1782, he was received as a hero by King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette. During the war, Lafayette enlisted the services of an enslaved man named James as a spy. James worked for both the famous trader Benjamin Arnold and for Lord Cornwallis. James brought intelligence from the British to the Americans and took back misleading information to the British. After the war, Lafayette assisted James in being granted his freedom in 1787. In appreciation, James took Lafayette as his surname. In 1824, with the approach of the 50th anniversary of the American Revolution, President James Monroe invited Lafayette to be the guest of the nation. At age 67, he was the last surviving major general who served during the Revolution. Lafayette spent 13 months in the United States, visited all 24 states that existed at that time, traveling an estimated 6,000 miles. He visited numerous cities and towns, including Augusta, from March 23rd to March 25th, 1825. While he was here, in Washington, he addressed a joint session of Congress. He visited with former Presidents John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, as well as sitting Presidents James Monroe and John Quincy Adams. The Friends of Lafayette is an organization with other supporting groups that have been erecting historical markers like the one you see here and creating a Lafayette Trail commemorating his 1824 and 25 visit to America. To date, about 140 markers have already been erected, mostly in the northeastern states. The Georgia Committee is hoping to place markers along Lafayette's 1825 route in this state. The towns he visited that will be included are Savannah, Augusta, Warrenton, Sparta, Milledgeville, Macon, and Roberta. And then he went into Alabama, as Columbus wasn't yet founded, nor was Atlanta. So far, Georgia markers have only been erected in Milledgeville and Warrenton. I have been asked to make this presentation to seek your approval to place one of the markers here on the Green Street side of the municipal building. It was here that a great banquet was held on the grounds of the old City Hall in honor of Lafayette's visit. They also held a grand ball in his honor at the original Planters Hotel located on Jones Street at McCartan Street, but there's already a Georgia historical marker there. There is no charge for the marker as it is being funded by the William G. Pomeroy Foundation of Syracuse, New York. Our request is simply permission to place the marker on the Green Street side of the municipal building since the banquet was held on this site in 1825. And this is a list of these funders and the sponsors that are involved in this, including the Sons of the American Revolution, of which I'm a member of the William Few chapter. So that's my presentation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. I don't see any colleagues in the queue. I do now. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a problem with this. It's not costing us anything. There's a lot of history behind this. How do we proceed forward, Attorney Brown, just to approve this? Or
if you approve placing it where I asked, which really the banquet was right where we are, but several feet below, out front, I guess that resolution will signal to the state committee to go ahead and start planning for it.
Thank you. Attorney Brown, there's a question regarding how do we proceed.
While the commission may take the action there be a motion as it wishes, I would think it would be prudent to assign this to the administrator or staff to do any background research that may be needed to make a presentation to the commission and place that on the agenda with notice to the public so if the public wanted to buy in prior to us making a final decision.
Thank you, Attorney Brown. Commissioner Guilfoyle, you good with that, sir?
absolutely. Ms. Bonner, you understood what Mr. Brown said?
Yes, sir.
Great.
All right. So is there a directive? We're going to receive this as information. Is there a directive to task the administrator with proceeding with community involvement?
Without objection, is that to proceed as the attorney has advised us to hand this off to the administrator for the appropriate due diligence, and once that's accomplished, bring it back here to the commission for official action.
Thank you. Commissioner from the 3rd, I see you in the queue. Would you like to add something?
I just thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to see how long this would probably take. No, I mean, I just don't want it to be thrown under the bus.
Madam Administrator.
Mayor Johnson, I would estimate anywhere between 30 and 45 days.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
That's good. So is there any objection to tasking the administrator with doing the due diligence regarding this ask and then presenting it back before this body? Hearing none, it's received as information and we have an action. Mr. Montgomery, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to the consent portion of our agenda. As I understand, there are some addendums. You want to address those first?
Yes, sir, if we could, so that we could get them on the record.
Okay.
Okay, we have a request to correct the April 30th, 2024 special call meeting agenda item number 2, approval to reflect the real property address of 2843 Regency Boulevard. Item 2 is to discuss the 911 call center staffing and situations occurring. 3, discuss the emergency demolition at 2104 Broad Street, International Maintenance Code Section 109. And number 4, commission resolution recognizing Mr. Jim Dent for his contributions to the game of golf.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any objection to this being added to our agenda? Hearing none. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
These addendum items will be added. Let's continue.
All right. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 27, items 1 through 27. For the benefit of any objectors to our alcohol petitions, once the petition is read, would you please signify your objections by raising your hand when the petition is read? Item number 1 is a request for adding dance to an existing consumption on-premise liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 235 Boy Scout Road. Item number 2 is that's it for our alcohol. So are there any objectors to our alcohol petition?
Are there any objectors? Seeing none noted, let's continue.
Okay. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 27 with no objections to our alcohol petition.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. There's one correction for item 23. I don't need to pull it, but just need to replace Commissioner Mason's name with Commissioner Pulliam, please.
Item 23, Commissioner Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, okay.
All right.
I guess if no other commissioners in the queue, I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and there's a second. Madam Clerk, we're voting. Okay.
Ms. Garrett, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. It's unanimous with Commissioner Bobby Williams absent.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's go through the regular agenda and then we hit these addendum items.
Okay. That will take us to item number 28. It's a motion to approve engaging UHY Advisors Mid-Atlantic to conduct audit of the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes the Administrator. Administrator Dowse.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. From our meeting on last Tuesday, I, as your interim administrator, reviewed the documents in relation to RFP 24-902 for the Parks and Recreation audit. And it does state that on May 7th, when the responses were due, the department received 2 responses, thank you, as well as reviewed them on May 8th. The evaluation committee convened to review those 2 responses. When it was brought to the department's attention that that a package had been attempted for delivery on May 7th at 8:02 a.m. by UPS, the package was confirmed that the package was brought out to the department. They knocked on the door. The department was closed because business office hours are not until 8:30 a.m. So at 8:02 in the morning, UPS returned the package back to their warehouse and again made the delivery a successful delivery on the following day on May 8th. Once the package was reviewed and received by the department, the evaluation committee convened to include this additional now third package, and I am here reporting to you today that I am in support of the recommendation by the finance director to award this contract to UHY in the amount of $71,664.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Chair recognizes Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle, Commissioner from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I've been going over these documentation from the question and answers from the review committee that looked at all three of these different vendors. And actually, Markham is actually cost less per hour. They going into a more depth scope of work. It's apple and oranges comparison altogether. And the amount of hours alone, Markham is doing 30 days to do a 3-year audit versus the other companies plan on figuring 1 week per year, which you cannot really even gauge how to even do an audit at that point. It's apples and oranges, and Markham has actually scored higher than the other company. And so my motion is to award the better professional services to Markham and have staff accommodate a office and documentation for said audit.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, there's a substitute motion and a second to award. That's the main motion to award to Markham. Chair recognizes Commissioner Brandon Garrett. All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 1st, Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Yes, sir. I want to get the opinion of our legal department, our legal counsel. Is what we're doing considered to be legal? Are we able to do it in this manner? If the department came back with the bid that was the lowest bidder, are we able to just choose someone else?
I believe the proper protocol for a procurement of this nature, what has been brought to the commission is the winner of the bid. No action has been taken on the winner of the bid. I believe that it is not proper for the commission to skip the winner of the bid, to go into other vendors and to vote on them as they were not winners of the bid. To award a competitive bid to someone who did not win, I believe will put the commission at great legal risk.
To award a bid to a competitor that did not win would put the commission at great risk.
Not the commission.
The city.
To put Augusta at.
Put Augusta at great risk. Can you explain to me in brief the whole notion surrounding the lowest bidder concept of bidding for procurement?
This would, that concept would not apply, Commissioner Johnson, to this bid. Mm-hmm. This was not a lower bid situation.
Okay.
There are qualifications that go along with this bid. This bid was not put out or evaluated based upon price. If you need further detail regarding that, I would ask that the finance director, since this is a finance department bid, she may be able to explain more in detail of what the criteria was for winners of this bid.
Okay. I don't need any further explanation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Chair recognizes Commissioner Guilfoyle from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the attorney, please. So, Attorney Brown, you say the winner of the bid, would that be the highest score?
That would be what the winner of the bid would be the one that is recommended to you by the recommending committee. The criteria for that, if finance would please come forward, if you may, Mr. Mayor,
yes,
to explain how they arrived at, in general, the winners of this bid.
Why not procurement?
Because it's not a procurement bid, it's the finance department's procurement. The procurement department only processes the papers received the information. Finance is their department's procurement.
Thank you, Attorney Brown. Director Williams.
Hi, good afternoon. Okay, the scoring process is there on an item like this is that there are several qualifications, several markers that are put out beforehand, and each firm, each respondent is judged based on their responses to that, the quality of the response, the amount of resources that they will be devoting to the project. Can they meet the timeline, which in this state, this case was a 90-day completion date. The biography, I'm not speaking, the biographies of the individuals that are assigned to them, which goes to their level of qualifications. All those are scored for each individual firm prior to the pricing being open. The pricing is then given a score, which is on the score sheet that was put out with the RFP. So, yes, pricing does enter into the final decision, but only after all the other qualifications have been ranked. The highest cumulative score for the respondents is the one that was recommended for the award of the bid.
Mayor, can I respond?
Yes, sir.
So,
You still have the
Donna.
floor. That's Director Williams.
I'm
I
good.
apologize, Director Williams. So, with UHY coming in higher, they automatically get the bid, is that correct? Scored higher.
Yes, they had the highest cumulative score, UHY, which was the recommendation.
Okay. Ms. Director Williams, I got the RFP right here in front of me from the scoring that you, procurement, and the other staff has done. Rated Markham at 327. Per the letter on May 14 from our procurement director, the last paragraph, the evaluation committee decision is further supported by the cumulative score of 322.6, which is lower than Markham, obtained by the UHA of ours of Mid-Atlantic, indicating their alignment and evaluation criteria outlined in RFP. So in essence, Markham is the chosen one because they scored higher. If you would like to see my documentation, I could put it up on the screen so we all could see.
Please do.
Please.
Point of clarity.
All right, wait just a second.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Johnson, I heard your point of clarity first.
I'll yield to the commissioner from the 9th.
All right, Commissioner from the 9th.
I would like to see the documentation that Mr. Commissioner
Natasha.
Gifford
Yes, ma'am.
has. And how long have you had this document?
I downloaded it after Tuesday's meeting. It was all public information.
Additional point of clarity.
All right, Commissioner from the 1st.
Is this the same information that we were asking to see last week?
No, sir, because when I didn't get any kind of answer from our department director or any kind of help on determining this agenda item here, and there was no help from anybody, so I went ahead and did my own Googling, researching from AugustaGA.gov website, and I found the questions and answers. The question and answer portion of it, Commissioner, was kind of passive, to say the least, but I would be happy if Natasha could put this up on the screen, Mr. Mayor.
But before you do that, can you share that with the Finance and Procurement Director before and make sure that it is?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, please. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to confirm it's their document.
Gary Sam's 14, and that was the scores.
Yep. Come to the mic, please.
And can you give us a minute? This sheet that's been shared with us has the scoring for the first 2 respondents. If you don't mind,
Sure,
let
sure.
us,
Take your
let
time.
us
Yep.
check on this,
Please,
please.
please, before we share that, please. All right, does anybody want to go through the queue before they're reviewing that information? Anybody need to add anything?
I have some questions, but if they're looking over documentation, I will wait.
Okay, you'll wait. What about Commissioner from the 3rd? You're also in the queue?
Yeah,
You wait?
I'll wait. I was going to make a substitute motion, but I'll wait.
Okay. It has been pointed out that, as you said, this has only the first 2 respondents on here. If you'll look towards the bottom down here, as I said, the fees are a part of the scoring process when you get to the final, because UHY's fee was lower than it changed the total score, because no longer was Baker Tilly the lowest and Markham the second lowest fee. Then the points were re-awarded based on the structure of the fees. So that did change the final outcome. To see the final scores, you would need to see the document that is in procurement that has all three scores ranked. But no longer would Baker Tilly have the 50 points rated on the scores and Markham have the 30 points.
Those are the documents that you put in our packets.
I'm sorry?
Wait a minute. Commissioner from the 10th still has the floor.
Ms. Williams, Director Williams, I think Attorney Brown just said about 7 minutes ago that the price has no bearing on the outcome of the bid.
No, that's not correct, sir. That is not. As I explained to you, it is a part of the weighted score.
Director Williams? Okay,
Yes, sir.
hold on one second. All right. If we're looking at the price point, Markham come in less per hour than the other company as far as charges. The reason why it's 141,000 versus 71,000 is because half the hours. You're talking about the lowest staff member that's doing the audit. Markham is doing 30 days worth of work here on the premises because they asked for an office, and the other company is doing 720 versus 308 hours, which is only 15 days. So who could actually do it? You in the finance, Ms. Donna, Director Williams, can you audit a department in 1 week?
Personally, by myself, no, sir.
Okay.
I have a staff that is associated with the work product, then I would bid out, and I think I've been through this with y'all a couple of times. When the RFP is put out, it is up to the respondent to determine how many hours they need to dedicate to get the job done. You understand that in your
You're right.
business.
And the,
you know how to bid out your tile jobs based on how much of your resources is going to require. So
as far as this other company that I had just made a motion for, they follow within the guidelines of the 90 days that's set forth in the RFP. And I was just going, you said the other criteria, documentation, well, that wasn't relinquished to us because it would have compromised the whole outcome of this bid. So I had to use the information that I could find online, Director Williams.
Yes, sir,
and that's where I'm at.
Guilfoyle.
When I see that the procurement director based her approval on the 322.6, and I see what Markham come in at 327, that automatically told me different. But I'll relinquish this to Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you, Commissioner Guilfoyle. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is a question for our finance director. The bid that you want us to approve, or that the committee wants us to approve, most of their work is going to, actually all of their work, according to the documentation online, is going to be done remotely, correct? How?
We did stipulate, and it was put into the questions, that we would expect some of the work to be done on site as well as their presentation. All respondents agreed to that.
Okay. But according to the way that they answered some of their questions and what I've read, it said that a majority will be done remotely. So let me ask, in order to do a remote audit, you can only audit what the city supplies to them, correct?
Yes, sir. Plus,
All right, no
as
further
they can do
questions.
their research
I make a
online.
substitute motion to deny this RFP and rebid it.
Second.
All right. So we got all kind of motions here. We got a substitute motion. We had, Madam Clerk, Commissioner Guilfoyle, are you good? You want to keep with your motion to award to Markham, or you want to rescind that?
I'll send it out for rebid, but can I have my documentation back, Director Williams, please?
Most certainly, Commissioner Guilfoyle.
All right. Madam Clerk. I'm coming to you. I see. Commissioner Garrett, you're good. Commissioner George Johnson from the first, sir. You have the floor.
Yes, sir. I would just like to ask, is there something that others know that we don't know? What I'm trying to wrap my head around here in a very brief moment is that we went around the block on this audit for how many years, Commissioner McKnight? At least 3.5 years. We've been going back and forth on the audit. We begin the process to get us to the point. We get a bid back that's going to be cost effective and effective for the city, but we're going to cancel this bid to bid out again because I guess we don't trust the process or something like that. Last week we grilled Jerry Sams over, accusing her of saying something that she didn't say, but now we want to cancel this whole bid out. It reminds me of a lot of what we just went through trying to hire a city administrator. Why is it that when the facts come back and the numbers come back to be proven to be true, we project to the media? Both of these stations, both of their lights are red right now. We project to the media here, the media in the front row, the op-eds, that this government is not doing something correct, and we can't even prove it ourselves that we aren't. So, we keep talking about unity, and we keep talking about doing things right up here, but we're arguing about a bid process that went through the proper process that was right, and now we want to cancel both and go back out. And everybody who says it wasn't done right can't even point to how it was done wrong.
I can answer that.
Please, I want somebody to answer, because we do this every time that something comes back that one side
I've been sitting up here for nearly 7 years now.
Commissioner Garrett, let's let Commissioner.
I'll yield the rest of my time to the Mayor Pro Tem, because if I'm misunderstanding, I would like to get.
Well, you asked if there's something.
All right,
So if you recall,
Garrett, the floor is yours, sir.
If you recall, 3 weeks ago, this was put in our packets for us to approve Markham. That was the initial thing. When we got up here, there was paperwork on our dais to basically delete that item off of our agenda and to approve this one, because as we've heard, there was apparently an attempted delivery of the RFP, but yet the committee had already met and had approved Markham. The problem with this whole thing is that all of a sudden the UHY bid showed up, and we've asked for timestamps and all that. We have yet to have that put in front of us. I mean, that's a simple question. It has nothing to do with the RFP process. That's just show us where UPS tried to deliver it. That's all that Commissioner Guilfoyle was asking. And then he was put on the runaround talking about you can't look at that. So never have I seen a bid, an RFP process changed on the floor because all of a sudden we found another bid after we had already met as a committee. So that's what the problem is.
And I guess my concern from there is we received the same, how can I say this? We received the same response from the finance director as we did of our administrator, our legal department, and the procurement director, that specifically went through the fact that the delivery was made prior to the office being open. And as soon as they got wind of that they realized that their error had been made, Ms. Sams, while she was out of town, still convened her staff, who was here, to go through the process again. This is what she said last week, is what was said on the 14th. Do we not trust that what they're saying is true? And if we don't trust that what they're saying is true, why do we continue to hire?
Actually,
and then secondly, I'm not done.
Okay.
And then secondly, you mentioned that Commissioner Guilfoyle was only asking for timestamps. I saw the email that only had Commissioner Mason, Commissioner Guilfoyle, the administrator, legal, and Donna, and procurement on it, asking to see the bid tabulations and all scoring. So that's not what was asked. What was asked was for the process to be breached so that commissioners can see the actual numbering, which goes against procurement policy, state procurement policy. So I think, Mayor Pro Tem, we're going to disagree here, and whatever the motion is fine. We're not going to argue about it. But I just want to make sure that we remember our obligation to not push undue rhetoric to the general public, because they're looking for us to do something different. And when we have staff and legal and the people that we pay big money to come back and tell us that the process has been followed properly, why would we sit here and go up against them? Because we don't trust the process. If you don't trust the process, get their jobs and do it yourself. But I get so sick of us doing this every single time. It happened with the administrator, and it's happening now. It happened with Train.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Chair recognizes Commissioner Al Mason from the 4th.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think part of the issue is there's, in my opinion, that is, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of processes and procedures, and I'll explain that or quantify that in a second. But what I also would like to say is I think the tone in which we speak sometimes causes a lot of the rift that Commissioner Johnson is referring to when it's accusatory in nature versus being exploratory in nature. It can make a difference in terms of how one responds or what type of information you receive or the attitude behind which is being said. So that's probably something that we all could work on and do a better job of, including myself. The tone in which we speak, whether it's accusatory or not, and maybe we should refrain from that. But the very notion that there shouldn't be questions asked is just dereliction of the duty as a commissioner. We have every right, and certainly I would never stop asking questions if I had questions to ask in order to get clarity. Now, again, stating the tone in that whole nother ball game. But to say that a question, that to infer or imply that a commissioner should not ask a question and just take the word of anyone would be something that would be, in my mind, a dereliction of duty. Because in the 10 years that I've been up here, there's been a number of statements that have been made, probably by commissioners and staff alike, that needed to be questioned and found out that they weren't true. So I wouldn't arbitrarily say that we shouldn't ask questions, because that's our job as commissioners, if you really stop and think about it. We're not up here to rubber stamp anything. That's not what we do. So by the very nature of getting information, in order to get information, a question must be asked so that information flow can take place. And I don't mean to insert or infer that that's what Commissioner Johnson was referring to. I don't think it was, but I just want to make sure that we're clear when we're having these types of conversations. Mr. Mayor, what I want to know at this point is we have a motion and a substitute motion on the floor. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
And I surmise that neither one of them are going to pass. And so I'm trying to figure out where would we go from here, because reading the tea leaves, I don't think either one of them is going to go anywhere. But what I can't do, in my experience, is award a contract to a person that did not win it just arbitrarily. What I could do would be to ask for a rebid if I felt that was appropriate. And I certainly do have that right to do just that if I feel that way, regardless to how anybody else feels. But I couldn't arbitrarily just go give the contract and with 6 votes to someone else that didn't win it through an official way of doing business, especially if we haven't determined that the official way of doing business was unofficial. So without that being determined, that it was done in some sort of unofficial way at this point, or that it was done in some sort of unofficial way at all, I certainly couldn't. Is that a main motion or a substitute motion that talks about? No. That's the main motion? Well, I certainly can't support moving on with a contract that goes to someone that actually did not win if we can't show just cause.
Commissioner Guilfoyle rescinded that motion.
So then there's only one motion on the table then.
To the floor at that point.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. That's why I was asking you, because that means there are 2 motions. Because if it's not, then another motion can be made, is my point. But at this point, if we have a motion and a substitute motion, by the rules, we can't make another motion, correct?
That's correct.
Well, then, I'm out of the queue, Mr. Mayor, because I was going to offer, but there's nothing to offer.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson from the first.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, and I agree with Commissioner Mason, just want to simply clarify that my statements is not to say that we shouldn't ask questions, because we always do that. But when we ask questions with malintent at heart, in an accusatory way, knowing that it's going to get clickbait and it's going to get coverage to try to make our government look like it's inefficient, that's where we have a greater responsibility. And that's what I want to continue to implore our commission to remember.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Lewis from the 6th. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. This question is for our attorney. Because we have a motion and a substitute motion on the floor in regards to the awarding of this contract, would it not be prudent for us to, how can we get it back to committee as opposed to voting on a motion and a substitute motion? Because that's where I believe that it needs to go back.
You cannot do that, sir. The body must act on its motions as soon as discussion is completed or someone calls a vote. And 6 people say discussion needs to end. Action needs to be taken on the substitute motion. If the substitute motion passed, the matter is completed at that time. If it fails, the body then must act upon the main motion.
Can I respond to
Wait just a second.
Commissioner Lewis?
Let's make sure he's done. Wait for him to yield. Commissioner Lewis, do you yield?
Yeah.
All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner Garrett.
Is that where you think we need to take this back to committee?
Absolutely.
If that is the case, I will rescind my substitute motion.
Thank you.
I don't think you can rescind it.
If you want to make that motion,
we have to vote, sir. All right. We
have to dispense of the 2 motions that are on the floor. If neither pass, then we can entertain the request of Commissioner Lewis.
even if we take it off the floor?
You can't do that. It belongs to the body.
Okay.
Well, let's vote them up or down then.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, let's vote. Let's vote on the substitute motion first. Madam Clerk, for clarity, please.
Substitute motion is to deny and rebid Commissioner Garrett and McKnight.
Thank you. We're voting, colleagues.
That motion fails 5-3-1. With Ms. McKnight voting yes, Mr. Mason, yes, Mr. Franham, Mr. Garrett, and Mr. Guilfoyle. Voting no, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Pulliam, and Ms. Scott. Abstaining is Mr. Lewis.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's address the main motion.
The main motion is to award it to Markham. Mr. Guilfoyle and Ms. McKnight.
All right, this is awarding to Markham. Colleagues, let's vote.
That motion fails 4-3-1. 2, I'm sorry. With Ms. McKnight voting yes, Mr. Franham, Ms. Scott, Mr. Guilfoyle. Voting no, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Pulliam, and Mr. Garrett. Abstaining, Mr. Mason and Mr. Tony Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Brandon Garrett. You in the queue first, sir.
Thank you. Before I make a motion, I have a question for, I guess, Director Williams. Were you part of the committee that met?
The selection committee?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that committee, did you all look at all 3 of these bids together, or did you look at 2 and then come back and look at 1?
No, sir. We did not have 3 to begin with. We had the first 2, and they were ranked and scored. And then, as I stated, we were informed that there was a 3rd one that procurement had consulted with the law department, and that one should be ranked and scored.
What date did y'all meet on the one that you met after the fact?
Point of clarity, Mr. Mayor.
Sir?
Point of clarity.
I haven't relinquished my questions yet.
Well, point of clarity is a.
Oh, I understand what it is, but.
Okay. We just want to get a point of clarity here. Are we allowed to talk business after a vote has been taken on an item?
I would imagine we're not, Mr. Parliamentarian.
I'm trying to make a motion. I'm just trying to understand before I make this motion.
I understand. I just want to make sure that I understand that we can keep the conversation.
This item is still active.
We voted on both.
Just want a parliamentary
We voted on it. It wasn't an action. Let's move forward. Commissioner Garrett, would you like to entertain a motion?
Yeah, I would like to request that this go back to committee next week, but also, Mr. Parliamentarian, would it be appropriate for them, the selection committee, to look at all 3 of these bids together? Because I'm not sure how you can compare without doing it all together when you've looked at 2 and then 1 by itself. Just kind of seems odd that it's hard to compare anything when you're only meeting to discuss one thing.
Attorney Brown.
Actually, Commissioner Garrett, I'm not sure the assumptions of the facts that you stated are actually true, but I do get your point.
That's what she said happened.
Yes, but you said they could not compare all 3 since they didn't consider all 3 at one time. That part would not be true. But to your motion.
But also said you can't compare anything if you're only looking at one.
Commissioner Garrett, give him a chance to answer, please. Attorney Brown.
Well, that would be, I guess the body has cut off his discussion with Commissioner Williams, which he was actually trying to have, would be the better person to answer that. However, I would think if the body and the administrators here listening to this conversation, the administrators certainly could advise finance and procurement to make sure they have addressed the concerns that have been highlighted today for the commission, so when the matter is brought back at committee, all those concerns should have been addressed by the time they get back. But I would hesitate for the commission, I think it's problematic for the commission to direct this process. The procurement rules are written so that the commission pretty much only votes on what has come before it, but not to get too involved in the process. But the administrator is hearing your concerns, and I'm sure that with guidance that she will take all actions that are necessary to help move this matter forward one way or the other.
Thank you, Attorney Brown.
Okay.
Commissioner Garrett?
I'll second your motion.
Can we have a roll call vote, Mr. Mayor, since I'm fumbling around and fighting with this remote here?
Yes, we may, sir. So, please, Commissioner Garrett, repeat the motion.
Refer this item back to committee.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to refer this item back to committee. Commissioner Jordan Johnson, you in the queue?
No, we're preparing to vote.
All right, you're preparing to vote. Commissioner Scott?
Yes. We are referring this back to committee. What committee are we?
It's finance.
It's finance? And it's,
The origin was finance.
And can I ask a question of clarity on that one? Is this a finance matter because it's a finance procurement?
Yes.
If it was any other type of procurement, it'd go to administrative services?
Yes, sir. The RFP was developed by finance under the guidance laid out by the commission for the items that they wanted included in the RFP. So yes, sir, we did craft the RFP and it was let through procurement.
Okay, thank you.
All right, colleagues, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, let's vote, please.
Mr. Franham.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mason.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. McKnight. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Scott. I'm sorry, Ms. Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That motion carries with Mr. Bobby Williams absent.
All right, Madam Clerk, thank you so much. Let's move forward.
Okay. Our next item is item 29. It's a motion to approve the acceptance of the Third Amendment for the Airmark Inmate Food Services.
All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess when reading, this is a $267,000 increase to the 2025 budget, and it says the inmate meals at $1.92, and therapeutic meals $1.92. I guess my question is, why is it such a significant increase? I know food costs are going up, but $267,000 to the budget hit next year in the 25 budget. I'm trying to understand the
All right, we
why.
have a representative from the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Sir, if you will, to state your name and the department you represent.
I'm Major Charles Mitchell. I represent the Richmond County Sheriff's Office.
You don't mind, speak a little closer to the mic, so yeah.
Major Charles Mitchell, and I represent the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. And we were the ones that originally started this contract bid. So what is your question, Commissioner?
So you have what the rates are this year through the 31st at $1.19 per meal. And you have an increase in your 25 budget of $267,000 due to a higher meal cost. What is it going to in 2025 to make it a $267,000 hit to the budget?
Well, first of all, we haven't increased at 2023 at all, so we're looking at a 4%. But I did bring the Airmark representative, Wes Landers, with me to better explain it so you got a better understanding, if you don't mind.
All right, sir, for the record, please state your name and address.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Wes Landers. I'm General Manager for Airmark. And to answer your question, Commissioner, it's 2 years worth of consumer price index increases that you're looking at. So we presented it, and this is not the Sheriff's Office fault, it's our fault. We presented our increase for last year, which was 7.1% late. Too late for them to get it as part of their budget. So the increase you're looking at in this contract is for basically 2 years. We haven't taken an increase here despite what inflation has done, which everybody knows.
Yeah, it just seems like a significant increase, and that kind of makes understand why. Okay, so where you're getting a 5-year contract, is the locked-in rate of the $267 per year, is that for 26 budget, 27 budget for 5 years, or is it going up again?
So the increase you're looking at will take effect January 1st of 2025, and it will be firm for that first year. After that, we'll measure it in February, so for the year from February of 2025 to February of this year. And we're seeing increases now in the range of 3 to 5%. So no, you will not see a $267,000 increase every year for this contract.
Okay. And I guess my last question is that I would hope that moving forward that when we get something like this, the chart that is attachment A, which is this year's rate, why didn't we see an attachment for next year's rates? Like, it's just a number and there's no facts in the documentation.
So So what the 11.6% increase you're looking at this year is based on last year's CPI, which was 7.1, plus this February's CPI, which was 4.5. That makes up for this year and for next year, right? But I can't tell you what CPI is going to be a year out because we'll measure it next February.
So the chart that's attachment A, effective the first this year to the end of this year, I guess my question is why can't we see the chart for 2025?
I'm not sure
You're
what.
telling us a number that's increasing, but there's no hard data to show us what the costs are going to.
Are you looking at the letter? I'm not sure which.
Back page.
That's all we got.
So those are actually the back pages those are the rates for this year.
Going up $267,000 on our budget next year. I'm trying to see why, because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and I certainly have all that, right? But the rates that you're looking at on the back page increased by 11.6%. That is the 7.1 for last year and the 4.5% for the most recent year.
I get it. I just don't understand why we can't see it in hard numbers, I guess is my.
I can certainly add that.
It just doesn't feel right.
It's in the letter that obviously the major and the sheriff and I have talked about.
We're basically taking the hit for a decision that wasn't ours, I guess, in a sense, too, and that's a tough pill to swallow up here.
I understand. Yes, sir. It's quite a hit, but it's not comfortable for us either to submit that, an 11% plus increase, but inflation has done weird things over the last 2 years.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you. One question. So basically, you're asking for this increase to cover this year's increase as well as last year's increase?
Yes, sir. We haven't taken an increase.
But that's not the taxpayers.
Right?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not anybody's fault, but.
Attorney Brown, hold up just a second. Attorney Brown.
Before I give an opinion, I did want to have clarity so I don't give opinion based upon wrong assumptions. When you said, sir, that it covers last year and this year, it doesn't mean you are making up for last year. It means now the rate of increase for this year is 11%. Last year, 7%. You have foregone that because you didn't charge it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct.
But he stated that last year was 7 and this year's 4, which adds up to the 11.
He's saying that, I believe he's saying that if they had charged the 7 last year and they came back with 4 this year, what we're going to pay now is what he's asking now.
Yeah, that's correct. So this year's increase was 4.5%. Last year's was 7.1. That's how we got to, but we didn't collect it, right? So there was no increase last year. In fact, there hasn't been an increase for this account in the last 2 years.
And that's part of my heartburn is why did you not present an increase last year so we could plan for it?
Well, we presented it.
And that way we don't want to be discussing 4% this year.
Yeah, I'll take responsibility for that. We presented it late. We presented it to the sheriff's office in October, which was too late for them to action it. But food cost is still what it is. Yes, sir.
All right, colleagues, we have a decision. Is there a motion to accept this?
A motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk. Yep. All right, we're voting.
Ms. Guilfoyle, thank you. That motion carries 7-2. With Mr. Franham and Mr. Garrett voting no.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Appreciate it. All right, Madam Clerk, let's move forward.
Okay. Item 30, is a motion to approve tasking the Clerk of Commission to engage the Carl Vinson Institute of Government at the University of Georgia to begin the process of leading and providing guidance to Augusta Richmond County down the path towards certain of a charter review committee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is my item. I'm asking that this body task the Clerk of Commission with the process of beginning the process of the creation of a charter review committee. With the direction of the Carl Vinson Institution of Government. It has been 28 years, and I think it's time, and I think we're way overdue. But I will go through the queue. Commissioner Scott from the 9th. The floor is yours, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I gently ask you to, if we can send this to committee so we can review and give our clerk some guidance, and when she's talking to the Carl Vinson Institution, what we are seeking. I do believe and I support you on a charter review, but I would ask gently if we can go and give the send it to commission to committee to get some more information on that, sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well noted, madam. From the 9th. Chair recognizes Commissioner Tony Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I think Ms. Scott hits the nail, Commissioner Scott hits the nail on the head by way of this needing to go to committee. We haven't had any discussion on moving forward, and I know that there are many of my colleagues that when we do put together a committee, that they would like to have some say or some representation on said committee. And I think it's just a little too early to engage Carl Vinson. I think there's some work we need to do as a body first, and then once we've completed that, we can engage the Carl Vinson Institute. But I think we're treading in new waters here, something we've never done before. So I don't want to particularly get marching orders from Carl Vinson before we've had an opportunity to have discussions ourselves as commissioners here on this matter. I do believe, and I wish that we could have done this even when we went to Atlanta with the mayor vote. We should have engaged Charter Review Committee. As part of that committee would have brought back recommendations for that as well. And we went out and we disengaged half of the commission on that particular request, and disengage the local delegation. So I don't want us to get into another debacle here with going out securing Carl Vinson before we've had an opportunity to assert what it is that we would like to do as a body and see as a body. Because I know when the committee is formed, I would definitely like to have some representation or be able to select someone to serve on that committee, and I know some of my other colleagues would probably like to do as well. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So I'm in agreement with Commissioner Scott. This needs to go back to committee so that we can get some better understanding of where we're going, where we want to go, and how we're going to get to where we're trying to get to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner from the 6th. Chair recognizes Commissioner McKnight from the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel like we keep putting everything back to committee. I've worked closely in the past 3 years with Carl Vinson Institute of Government, and I trust that they would do a really good job. And I say that this is something long been overdue, and I appreciate you putting it on here, Mayor Johnson, and I was going to make a motion to go ahead and approve it.
Thank you, Commissioner McKnight. Commissioner Sean Fradham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the agenda item, but I also agree with what my colleague's saying about pumping the brakes. I personally believe that we ought to tasked the Carl Vinson Institute to do a 3 to 5 to 6 to 8 month study and not push this. Don't appoint anybody up here. Don't do anything like that until at least the new year. But I also think that the people need to be driving this train, not the commission. I think the commission ought to have appointees as well as the mayor, but the people need to be driving this train, not the commission. Colleagues, complete agreement to send it back to committee, complete agreement that we should engage them. We just need to slow walk this one because eventually it's going to be voted on, I would think, down the road in a few years. So I make a motion to send it back to committee.
All right, we're at, I have a motion.
Is there a
from
second?
Scott.
Is there one?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. All right, so would you second that motion, sir?
Second.
All right. Commissioner Johnson.
I'll come out. It's going to committee.
All right, let's vote.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, madam, you ready for these addendum items? We're going to go from top to bottom with the addendum items, Madam Clerk.
Okay. First item on our addendum agenda is a motion to correct the April 30th, 2024 special call agenda item number 2, approval to reflect the real property address of 2843 Regency Boulevard.
Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion and a second. I heard from Commissioner from the 9th first, Madam Clerk. We're voting.
Yeah, Mr. Garrett and Ms. Scott.
Scott, that's correct.
It's unanimous.
Right.
Item number 2 is discuss the 911 call center staffing and situation occurring.
All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I put this on the agenda because of the situations, community leaders that have been reached out this past weekend on some calls not being answered, and we haven't had a discussion about the 911 center since the budget, and I want the director to kind of give his say in his recommendation because we need to support them, but we also need to know what's going on as well. So,
thank you, Commissioner. Director Dunlap.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. First off, I need to commend the 911 staff for what they have done and what they do on a daily basis through COVID, through the challenges of taking over EMS and handling the EMS services, short staffing, and handling overtime shifts. You know, staffing has fluctuated since COVID. We've seen a decline within the applicants that are applying for these jobs. Pardon me. Thank you. And the main struggle that we're facing is the struggle with the salaries. That's the primary reason we have staff leaving. I received a resignation this past week from an employee who stated that she cannot afford to pay her $1,400 rent, her $600 car payment, and to afford $98 a week in childcare. You know, I've had reports of staff having their vehicles repossessed, staff potentially driving without insurance on their vehicles, and others just trying to maintain paycheck to paycheck with the increased cost of groceries and gasoline. So when we're talking about these potential factors, what are occurring for us to not answer the phone as quickly as there's an expectation to, if we look at the call duration from back in 2022, we were typically on the phone for about an average of 2.5 minutes. If we look at 2024 up to this point, we're on the phone for an average of more than 5 minutes. We also take into consideration we've been answering the calls for EMS when we would previously answer them, verify the address, and transfer that over to the previous EMS service. We are now the ones maintaining and staying on the line for the potential of giving life-saving instructions over the telephone. We're receiving a lot of non-emergency calls on the emergency lines, whether it's someone that wants to say the green light that's turning onto Riverwatch from Fury's Ferry is taking too long, to there's a snake in my yard outside, to a lot of non-emergency calls that we're receiving and we're processing. And staffing, again, it comes back to the salaries, and we're having that difficulty of retaining and recruiting. There's also situations where you have one incident that will cause multiple people to call and will I don't want to say overwhelm, but it will outnumber the number of people we actually have working in the center. We were first aware of the incident that we talked about back in January of this, and we've had a few other times that this has been reported where the calls have not been answered in a timely manner. So I don't want to say they're not being answered. The staff are tied up on other situations. And we certainly understand the public expectation is that 911 and all public safety are going to do everything 100% of the time. And we're striving to do it. And the staff that we have are doing it 150, they're putting 150% effort into it. And we're trying to strive to meet that 100% of the time. We're answering anywhere from 500 to 800 911 calls every day. So just like some of the other departments, what are we doing about it? We're in the process of eliminating some longstanding vacant positions in order to try to increase salaries within our department. And that's what we've been doing. If you look at the news over the last 3 months, there are places like Honolulu, Hawaii, Montgomery County in Maryland, Lansing, Michigan, Colorado Springs, Chatham County, DeKalb County within Georgia, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And actually on my drive over here today, I spoke with a director in Albuquerque who told me she's suffering from short staffing as well. So if we just want to look comparatively to, up on the screen, to some of our, I don't want to say competitors, obviously, we're not saying competitors, but if we just want to compare, look at Forsyth County, that's north of Atlanta. Sure, they do have a 50,000 more, as far as their population. They're in the process of actually increasing that salary to $22.59 an hour. Our neighbors in Columbia County are paying at $19.21 an hour, and even Burke County is paying at $16. And with the lower call volume and the less population that there are in Burke and Columbia counties, we're suffering here in Augusta. Again, I want to also note that since we did take over the dispatching and call taking services for Central, there was no pay adjustment within Richmond County. So what am I asking? I mean, it comes down to the fact if we can look at an additional $3 an hour across the board for the 911 personnel, that would be for retention of the current staff we have and to recruit and get that salary up to where we can be more attractive for applicants to come in and work for us, and to also provide some additional training. So this is where I'm asking the commission for the rest of 2024, like starting January 1st, July 1st, thank you, January, all right, July 1st, $225,000 to meet that $3 an hour. And then we'd be looking at that $450 moving forward in future years.
Okay, and I appreciate the presentation. Just a couple of questions for you. How many vacancies right now do you have?
We have 21.
21. How many total employees do you have?
66.
66, so a third, in a sense. When the Central started, because I don't remember this, was there a discussion of them coming in and helping and being in your office with you?
No, there was not.
Is that on the table for a future discussion, or is that not even something we want to entertain?
Well, the discussion we had in some of the subcommittee meetings leading up to, Central actually coming in, they did not have staff that were here local. They had staff that were in Roswell, Georgia. That's where their main headquarters is located. There was the concern about us, potentially transferring the calls up there to Roswell and them handling all that operation up there, but nothing here.
And what about the software piece? Is that now working, or are we still having kinks in it? The software that we had, and I don't know the name of it, the dispatching software, is that helping, hurting, not working?
The software, the emergency medical dispatch questioning software, it's helping. It's certainly helping.
Okay. And then you said 500, 800 calls a day. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then the last raise was just the cost of living that we've done, I guess, the last 2 years? Is that the only thing that they've received?
There was a $60,000 amount that we got at the beginning of the year, which was not able to go to every employee. And that only brought up some employees $1.
Okay. Did they get COLA? Probably.
They did get the 3% cost of living.
Well, this is one of those situations when we in November, December decided to basically cut budgets across the board. This is one of those situations where, for me, this is just me speaking, that this is where some of the money should be used. I think we should do this now because of the health, safety, and welfare of those employees and what's going on. If it can help, and it seems like it would help. So I hope there'll be a motion to approve this today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Thank you. Questions for Director Dunlap. In regards to the salary shortfalls, I mean, I support helping our employees and making sure that we are adequately staffed. It seems like that anytime there is any sort of questions to any of our departments about what is going on, the first thing that our directors bring back to us is salaries. You know, I've seen us throw money at departments and still not see the services increase. I know that back when we were going through the ambulance provider changeover and all that, one of the main parts of that entire discussion was we need to be able to dispatch everything from one place. You know, that's what we kept hearing from staff. That's what this body was wanting. And so during that transition, never once did we hear, hey, if we're going to take these additional call volumes, we may need to look at some additional funding for my department. Is there a reason why that was never really a conversation on the floor?
That was brought up during the subcommittee meetings.
But it really never got to this floor.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can't tell us, you're the department director, so you would know. So just. Yeah, and you know the subcommittees never really make it to these discussions up here, but that's an interesting response. So when the also I know that there's been a new AI system installed that we've heard and seen in the news. I know fire is supposed to be dispatching fire through 911 or something. I don't really understand how it works. That's why I'm not in AI. Is that something that is also affecting your ability to take calls? Because, I mean, I can speak for a majority of us up here. We've all talked about we get calls from our constituents saying, hey, I've called 911, nobody's answering. And so just curious of that new system, is it not helping? Is it hurting more?
I'm not familiar with what AI system that you may be referring to.
I don't know the name of it.
And we have implemented a phone tree on our administrative, non-emergency lines.
Chief Burton, what's the name of the system? Purvis.
Oh, the fire station alerting system.
Yeah.
That has helped our dispatchers as far as them not having to give a verbal presentation, call presentation over the radio. So that has helped their ability, but that's totally separate from 911.
Okay.
As far as the calls.
I'm just curious because
Understood.
It seems like we're getting all of these news reports about unanswered calls and fire situations and all this, kind of all at the same time. So I don't really believe in coincidences. That's why I'm asking the question. So in regards to this $3 increase, and you said you want to get it to $450 next year. Is that $450 additional?
So for the rest of 2024, January 1st. July. God, why do I keep saying January? My apologies. July 1st would be the 225, and then in 25, you're doubling that. So you got your 6 months, you got 12 months there at 450.
All right, and you said that there were positions that you were looking to cut. So you said you have 21 vacant. What are you looking at cutting?
No, those are the amounts after we have eliminated those positions.
How many have you eliminated?
66 staff, and we have 21 vacancies.
Okay. So before these 21 vacant, how many do you have before you abolish them? How many positions are you abolishing?
6 positions.
6 positions. Okay.
73.
All right. I'm going to make a motion that we approve this request, but I'm not sure that the 225 is going to be adequate. I would actually like to I'll give that. I'd make a motion that we approve the $3 an hour increase just because we do know that the volume in Richmond County is much higher than our surrounding counties. And I would say that we use the 1% that we cut and use it to facilitate this funding.
I'll second it.
All right, there's a motion and there's a second. Commissioner Guilfoyle, you in the queue, sir.
Thank you. Director Dunlap, when did you eliminate these 6 positions?
They're at HR now to eliminate as we speak.
HR now to eliminate. And last year, year before, what was your call volume? You said this year it's 500 to 800 per day. How much was it last year?
I don't have that data in front of me. I don't have that data in front of me. I don't want to speculate and give you wrong information that I'll get.
All right. You was here last year watching us when the code enforcement, not code enforcement, but planning and zoning needed some more help as far as plan readers. And this body listened to the director as well as some of the staff that we increased it because we recognized they needed help. They gave us forewarning. Your presentation showed 2 days ago what you presented to us, and apparently you just sent it into HR. We also, the warden had asked for the same type of increase so he could retain and hire more officers to field, actually have to go out and to handle the crews, prison crews. It's easier to work with the commission up front instead of being reactionary on this. Now you're saying that you short staff, but you knew this last year. The administrator did the budget. She has the ears of all the directors, hopefully, and if you would have brought it to her, she should have brought it to us saying, hey, we need to do something to 911. 911 is a very important department for everybody in Augusta. Every child, elderly, including our own employees here. But it would have been nice to know this last year when you needed help instead of today after Commissioner Sean Franham decided to put this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Guilfoyle. Madam Administrator, I see you in the queue.
I have to.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I just wanted to remind the commission that during our public safety budget hearing last year, as we were preparing for FY24, it was brought to the body's attention that not only RCCI, the fire department, but also 911, from a public safety standpoint, were having some challenges regarding salaries. It was again brought up on the meeting of January 2nd when Central EMS gave their presentation, and Augusta 911 Director Daniel Dunlap stated once more that salaries continue to be a problem, although Augusta had instituted 2 years in a row of 3% increases. Another 3% cost of living adjustment was coming, and as he stated, some additional funding was found that was approved in the FY24 budget. There still remained a shortage, and so it was then planned that additional efforts would be moved for FY25 for a big push to be made towards FY25, but I did not want this body to think that it had never been mentioned nor had it been stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Commissioner Garrett, you were asked to.
Yeah, so the administrator asked me to restate the motion. If we could get that back on the screen, please. And I think even the screen, I think, reads different. The dollar amount that I mentioned was $3, and I think it's supposed to be the $225, and that, or $225,000 for everything. So. From the 1%.
The 1% cut.
Okay. All right, Commissioner, wait a minute, we got one more in the queue. Commissioner McKnight.
Quick question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What is the average paying salary for a call center operator? What is it? $16. Okay, so we're going to go up with. Okay. Question now.
All right. There's been a motion and popular.
$16.57 an hour.
All right. There's been a motion and there's been a second. Madam Clerk, let's vote.
Thank you for the support.
Item number 3 is to discuss the emergency demolition at 2104 Broad Street, State Code Section International Maintenance Code, requested by Commissioner Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You didn't even acknowledge me, but thanks.
Come on, Commissioners from the 7th. This is your item, too, sir.
So I don't think anybody ever needs to say that we only clean up for the masters, because this place is an eyesore that we didn't touch. And it's disappointing, and I hope someone from code is here to talk about it, because we have the tools to do this and charge back the owner based on, the International Maintenance Code 41-2-7. And this is an emergency situation from the standpoint, it's on a sidewalk. You've seen it posted all through it. There's been TV stations that done stories on it. And if we're sitting here waiting on an attorney, that's just not the answer we need to be giving people. In 1999, I think, there was a hotel downtown that went in abroad, and we had it cleaned up. We were at court within 3 days and had it cleaned up within a month, I think. So I'm just, I guess, frustrated. And I want to hear the why, because you and the department have the resources, you have the code, you have the ability to get this done. And I don't want to hear a legal reason as to why we're not getting it done. So I'd love to hear why.
Good afternoon, everyone. In regards to the addresses 2106 and 2108 Broad Street, there was a fire that occurred on November 2nd, 2023. The code enforcement team escalated it to the public officer court on November 3rd, 2023. And then it was approved, because you have to get on the docket. It was approved on November 20th, 2023. During the time between the fire on November 2nd and the request to go before the nuisance abatement court, we give the opportunity for the property owner to clean up or any insurance to come into play, okay? So we got approval to be on the docket on November 20th for the December 13th date. The public officer court meets once a quarter, okay? So then we took the cases to nuisance abatement court on December 13th. This is where we had our first hiccup. We use a third-party legal counsel, not the city's counsel, legal counsel. We use a third-party legal counsel. This particular item was advertised at 3 weeks instead of the required 4 weeks, so the judge kicked it back because of that. Then after that, we had to wait until March 27th to go back to court. Our third-party counsel then took it back to court on March 27th, and that was nuisance abatement court. At that time, we received the judge's decision to demolish the buildings, and the judge signed the order on May 3rd, and it has been recorded at Superior Court. So the Superior Court is still holding the document right now, or it's in transit. We checked on that today. So until we have that actual order in hand, environmental services cannot take action. So we took it to court. We were responsive. We found out about the fire. Within 24 hours, we started trying to contact the owners. We started trying, and when we noticed we couldn't get that contact, we advanced our request to be on the December 13 meeting, and in that rush, we kind of missed it. It got messed up by a week. But we were responsive, and we are timely, and environmental services, they can't move forward without that signed court document.
So explain to me what the state code 41-2-7 on something that's health and safety to the people, why we can't take that structure down.
At this point,
especially when it's into the road with debris and things of that nature.
All right. Basically, what we do is we try always, I won't say try, we do follow our legal counsel. And at this point, we have a third-party legal counsel that is handling this. They have given us direction and instruction, and we try to follow that. As far as it pertains to emergency demolitions, I do think that we should have the ability somehow to have remedied this. But I don't go against my written legal counsel, whether that's third party or in-house. We try to follow those guidelines so that the city is not liable.
What about the sidewalk aspect of it?
That should have been cleared. That's something that could have been cleared and should have been cleared. Just for safety reasons, it should have and could have been cleared.
But it wasn't.
But again, planning and development, we don't have the staff that physically goes out there and picks up each of those bricks. We don't have a right-of-way crew. That is portion of the right-of-way. There is a department that has a right-of-way crew, but we don't have one.
Yeah, again, I'm just a little, I'm just going to let it go. I'm done.
All right. Commissioner from the first, Commissioner Johnson, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, this is a lot of the reason why I didn't put this item on the agenda, because this is in my district. I've been working on this since the fire happened. I mean, y'all have emails to show that. As far as the sidewalk goes, those bricks that are on the sidewalk, if we move those, what issues will we then face with structural damage? That's already been done, of course, but the structural implications of moving something out of that right of way. And then will we face any type of legal ramifications for doing something on a property that we don't own and don't have the authorization to do? And then lastly, what is it that we can do to talk to the Superior Court, folks over in Superior Court, to kind of move this thing along?
Okay. So with regards to, I'm going to take the last question first. With regards to Superior Court, we have all been in contact, the Administrator's Office, the Planning Department, and they have said that they have routed it as of today. So it should be coming back to us today. With regards to the sidewalk, which is a portion of the right-of-way, that is the engineering department, and I'm sure they have their right-of-way agents, and they also have their people who maintain the right-of-way. They would be able to ascertain and determine what the impact would be of moving it off the sidewalk. So I will default that to the engineering department because they handle right-of-ways.
But that area was barricaded. We did put cones and things away to protect that sidewalk, right, Ms. Dawes?
Yes, sir. And if you would, it has been at the recommendation of the engineering department not to disturb the bricks that are abutting the structure out of concern that it may further cause the structure to rupture prematurely. But Dr. Malik is present and can speak to that matter. But the bricks that were in the street have been removed, as well as it has been cautioned off. While it is an eyesore, my office has been managing this matter for months. I have probably weekly communication with multiple citizens throughout the area. But I do want to let the body as well as the public know that once the order is received from the judge, it will take us approximately 6 to 8 weeks to have the structure demolished, because we do not, the demolition contractors that we have on contract are residential demolition contractors. This would require someone of special expertise, especially if the property contains asbestos. So I did want to make sure everyone was aware of the timeline.
Thank you, Ms. Dawes, for that clarification.
All right, colleagues. There's no one else in the queue. We're going to receive this as information without objection. Seeing no objections, Madam Clerk. Let's move to the last item.
It takes us to item number 4, which is a resolution from the Commission recognizing Mr. Jim Dent for his contributions to the game of golf.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before I recognize Commissioner from the first, my staff just made me aware that we proclaimed the day in honor of Mr. Jim Dent, but it was not on behalf of the Commission and the mayors from the city of Augusta. It was May 11th as Jim Dent Day. So as I understand, there are other opportunities through the Commission. Commissioner Johnson, we'd certainly like to hear what your thoughts and plans are.
Yes, sir, and I want to publicly thank you for that. I sent that request in to get the mayor's office to do it. So thank you so much for helping me with that one. Mr. Dent just recently had a birthday, and we have not honored him in the chambers, from what I understand. At least since I've been on the Commission. I could be wrong. But I think that it would be a nice gesture for us to just give a resolution from this body, from the Commission, and certainly from the mayor's office, as a member of the Commission, just to thank Mr. Dent for his contributions, to wish him a happy birthday, and to do it from the government chambers. I've learned so much about Mr. Dent, even over the last month or so, that I did not know. And so when you have a legend like that in your city up in Sand Hills, I think it'd be worth the effort to honor him. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion and a second. I heard Commissioner Franham come in first, Madam Clerk. We're voting.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Does that conclude our business?
Yes, sir.
All right, this meeting's hereby adjourned. Thank you guys for being here today.